What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Sidelined NFL Week 14. It's the holiday season. Everyone's in a good mood. Christmas around the corner, and you get Sidelined to get you there. Remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let's get right into it. My top takeaways from this week of NFL games. My number one takeaway is that it is Philadelphia's league to lose. The Eagles are a cut above the rest of the league. Even the other elite teams, the Chiefs, the Bills, Bengals, Cowboys, they have these slip-ups here and there. Philadelphia's rolled all season. They had one bad game, really, against the Commanders and Taylor Heineke. I mean, no one's going to go undefeated. It hasn't happened since 1972. They're just a cut above the rest. The offense looks unreal. They have a really good defense. They made some good moves, getting Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph on the D-line. They went out this offseason, got A.J. Brown, a number one stud receiver, alongside Devontae Smith. This is their year. They should be the favorite. And frankly, if they don't win it all, I think it's a disappointment. My second takeaway is San Fran is also a juggernaut. Brock Purdy looks pretty good. Actually, better than pretty good. He looks really good. And I think it's a testament to Kyle Shanahan and the Niners system. Whatever quarterback they plug in there is going to do well. Jimmy Garoppolo, a lot of people think he's an average, kind of below average quarterback. I like Jimmy G, but he thrives in that system. Purdy looked great against the Buccaneers. He looked good when he went in last week. And they just keep rolling. They keep plugging people in. However, Deebo did go down. They're saying he has a high ankle sprain. Don't know how long he'll be out for. They have a lot of injuries, but they're rolling. We'll see how many injuries they can sustain before it catches up to them. Third takeaway, the Vikings and the Cowboys showed their true colors. Now, all season, these have been two of the best teams in the league, two of the best records, in crazy dynamic offenses, high scoring. But they're both choking teams. I mean, everyone knows the Cowboys choke. We saw it last offseason. And Kirk Cousins has no balls. He's a eunuch. Two choking teams. These teams have quit in them. When the going gets tough, they get going. They suck in prime time. And even though the Cowboys won, they showed their true colors because they battled all game long with a shitty Houston team, the worst team in the league. And frankly, they should have lost. They did everything in their power to lose, and just because Houston's so bad, they somehow won. The Vikings lost to the Lions. Granted, the Lions are rolling, but that's a game you should win, and I don't trust either of these teams in the playoffs, even though they're both pretty good teams. That will lead us to our top 5 games of NFL Week 14. For that, we bring in the people's champ, Sam. Sam, how you doing?
I'm good, Matt.
Sam, it's great to see you. You look great. You get the vest, get the flannel, ready to roll.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get into our games here. Oh, wow, what a graphic. Oh, that's so nice. Oh, shout out Nick behind the camera. He makes it all happen. We love Nick. First game, this was Thursday Night Football, Sam. Wow, doesn't that just captivate you? The Raiders, they blew another game. They fucking blow, dude. They stink. And part of the reason they lost is because Baker came in and saved the day, Sam. A lot of people are talking, were people too quick to jump the gun on Baker? Is he still a starting quarterback in the league? Sam, what are your takeaways? Do you believe in Baker?
He looked pretty good in this game. I mean, he led a drive at the end of the game to ultimately win. He scored the game-winning touchdown at the end from his own, 10-yard line?
Sure.
Drove the team down 90 yards with a little bit of help from the referees down the stretch, which I'll get into in a little bit. But from what I saw, I mean, he still has the capability to sling it. He looked pretty good out there. Like, even when he was getting pressured in the pocket, he still maintained his composure and was able to deliver some clutch throws. And I think, once he gets going with this team, like once he has more reps with the guys, because he only came off of 2 days, right? Wasn't he claimed 2 days?
Yeah, he came after 2 days.
Yeah, 2 days prior. So he just needs a little bit more time with this offense, more time with Sean McVay and learning the playbook. And I think he could definitely be the answer for at least the rest of the season.
Sam, I agree. For the rest of the season, he'll be fine. I still don't believe in Baker. I still think, I don't know. I don't see it. He's too inconsistent. You know what I mean? Like, he'll have one good game like this, and even this, he made some fuck-ups, and the refs covered him up. I just don't believe in him long-term. I'll give him props, though. Leading a last-second drive like that, a quarterback, learning to play 2 days, that's crazy. So I give him props for that. I don't know after this year, if he's a backup fringe starter. I kind of think that's what he is. Maybe like a Jacoby Brissett, fringe starter, backup, maybe starter on a bad team. But the Raiders, man, they blew another game. It just can't get it done, huh?
Yeah, so it seemed like the Raiders had the control for most of the game. So they scored on their opening drive and then had a couple of field goals, which ultimately weren't enough to get by this Rams team because their defense at the end didn't pull through for them. They gave up 2 bad penalties at the end, including there was a 3rd and 2 play which Baker threw a pick, but that ultimately got nullified by a pass interference call, which then set up the next play, which Baker got sacked for 9 yards on first down, but then that got nullified because there was an unsportsmanlike conduct call that was called. So that gave the Rams another first down plus an additional 15 yards from their original spot. So it set up the Rams in good field position, which ultimately gave them the opportunity to win, which they did.
That did happen.
So they just got to be more disciplined on defense, and they got to put up more than 16 points because I don't think 16 points can get it done.
Probably not.
Especially with how bad their defense is.
Seems that way. All right, next game. Texas, the Lone Star State. 2 Texas teams. We have the Dallas Cowboys versus the Houston Texans. One terrible team versus one choking team. Should not have been a close game. I think the Cowboys were 2 touchdown favorites. Houston led for much of the game. Dak Prescott fucked up. He had some... Dallas had some bad turnovers, special teams too. Cowboys were able to come back. They won. Zeke Elliott had a last-second touchdown. He got in the end zone. Are you concerned about the Cowboys, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, They didn't look that good in this ball game. It seemed like the Texans had more control over this game. They held on to the ball longer. They had at least 5 of their 13 drives, so they outtouched the Cowboys by 1 possession because there was 25 possessions. They had 13 of them. Out of their 13 drives, 5 of them went for 3 or more minutes.
Oh, wow.
So it seemed like they had control of this game, especially one drive in the third quarter that led to a field goal. It took over 5 minutes long.
Yep.
So they were definitely, chewing the clock, which is good because this Cowboys offense is definitely legit. And the key to beating them is to make sure that they stay off the field.
Okay. No, Sam, I agree. I'm concerned about the Cowboys. They ultimately did win, but if they were playing any kind of competent team, they would have put Houston. They would have put Dallas away. I mean, Houston got the ball off the fucking 3-yard line. They couldn't get in the end zone. They're just not good. They're the worst team in the league. And Dallas is, like you said, really talented on offense. They're really talented on defense too. They have a ton of talent. They're a really good team. But I don't know. They just choke. I just every time they're in a big spot, I feel like they come up short. And I will say what they have going for them is I feel like the rest of the NFC is also filled with chokers or unproven teams. So somebody's going to get through, right? So I guess they have that going for them. I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the reason if the Cowboys do make it far is based on how Dak Prescott plays, because in this game alone, he looked awful.
Yep.
Like, he put up another lackluster performance. I got some stats of his performance. So he went 24 for 39 for 284 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks, and finished with a 23.9 QBR, which is god-awful.
Yeah.
I think one of the only people that finished with a lower QBR was Mitch Trubisky of the Steelers.
Sam, that's what you get from a guy named Dakota, You get 2 interceptions. So, all right, next game, we go to Lions-Vikings, Sam, an NFC North matchup. We all know that's your favorite division in the league. You're always talking about, what's going to happen in the NFC North? Sam's always wondering. Detroit's rolling. They've won 5 out of 6 games. Dan Campbell has the Lions playing really well. And Minnesota, they put up 23, but their defense looks fucking atrocious. Sam, do you think the Lions can make the playoffs? 1. And 2, will the Vikings defense be their undoing in the playoffs? So,
in terms of Detroit making the playoffs, I'd say they got a good shot.
Okay. Would you pick them?
They're playing, not necessarily, because there are a couple teams that I like more that are in the hunt right now, like Seattle, Tampa Bay. I like them a lot better than them.
So you wouldn't pick them, but you think they have a shot?
They do have a shot if they're able to string together some wins, which they are right now because they're one of the hottest teams in the league.
They are.
It seems like the players are buying into what Dan Campbell has to offer.
They like what he's cooking.
I mean, dude, the guy's got balls of steel.
Oh.
I mean, there's 2 plays that come down to this game and ultimately the outcome of this game.
Wow.
One of them was a 4th and 8 in their own territory. Instead of punting the ball away, they run a fake punt run that goes for 42 yards. It was one of the biggest
Biggest plays of the game.
Biggest plays of the game. And then also on 3rd and 7, this is to pretty much ice it. They run a play with one of their offensive tackles, Penei Sewell, who can actually move. If you actually watched him on the play, when he gets in motion and starts running, the guy can fucking move. He's a freak athlete.
Oh, yeah.
But he makes a catch, gets the first down, and pretty much ices the game right there. So I got to say, this team is very fun to watch. Jared Goff is leading this offense. They're actually one of the better offenses in the league, in my opinion.
No, I mean, the Lions, listen, I do think Jared Goff is spineless. But their offense is pretty good. They play in a dome, which helps them. And also, Seattle lost. They're 7-6. Seattle has San Francisco. I mean, if Lions win this week and San Fran beats Seattle, I mean, Lions will be I think they have a pretty decent shot to get in. The Giants are kind of falling apart. As for Minnesota, I think absolutely either the defense will be their undoing or the fact that Kirk Cousins doesn't have any balls. One of those two things. They're very talented, yes, and they have a really good offense. I don't know. I don't see it in the playoffs for them. I can definitely see them getting upset.
It's definitely going to be their defense. That's going to be the biggest letdown. So if their defense isn't able to contain the other offense from putting up big numbers, like for instance, if they're giving up 30 points in the playoffs, I don't see them winning.
Everyone's going through their defense, Sam. I mean, they let up holes as big as Kim K's fucking box. I mean, that thing's wide open. Please come in. Everyone's welcome.
Well, this is back-to-back weeks. They played the Patriots as well.
Oh, yeah.
And Mac Jones literally cut through their defense like it was nothing.
Oh, yeah.
And
like
now you let Jared Goff.
Everyone's welcome.
Who's probably the most.
They're going to get it. The defense is going to get an STD, Sam. Everyone's going through.
You got to be careful.
All right. Next game. San Francisco 49ers raped the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 35-7. We're getting canceled, Sam. The Buccaneers looked really bad. Tom Brady, I love Brady. I'll defend him till the day I die. I mean, Tom Brady could literally murder a 7-year-old kid in cold blood. I would say I'm sure he had a good reason to do it. You know, it's Tom. But he looked bad. He missed some throws. He missed a bad one to Mike Evans. San Fran, they played great. They lose Deebo Samuel. Brock Purdy looks good. Sam, give it to me. What do you think? Give me all the thoughts.
So I just wanted to say, last week you were doubting me about Brock Purdy.
I mean, I don't know if I doubted you. I was like,
you did. No, you said you're like, I don't know. Is he the guy for this team?
Well, I was asking you the question for the show.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
I proved you wrong. He proved you wrong.
I mean, I never said I didn't believe in him. I was literally asking you.
He had a great game. He looked very comfortable besides the first play of the game where he got sacked. But other than that, you know, he held his own. He threw for a couple touchdowns. He even ran one in.
He did.
McCaffrey had a big day, 150 all-purpose yards. And you want to hear something funny about this?
Sure.
So I was watching this game with my dad on the couch,
nice.
And all of a sudden the broadcast gets interrupted, so they cut it back to the studio. And they literally, because it was such a bad blowout, they cut it to the Seattle-Carolina game. They stopped showing this game because that's how bad it was.
Yeah. I mean, Sam, just to start with the Niners, I mean, they're a fucking juggernaut, dude. They're loaded on offense, and they're probably the best defense in the league. They're loaded on offense. Brock Purdy looked really comfortable. I was, for the last pick in the draft, rookie against a fucking veteran Tampa Bay team, even if they're struggling. He looked really good. I think Niners fans should feel good about him going forward. I don't think they should bring in another quarterback that would threaten, you know, like who you thought would be the starter. I'm worried about their injuries, though. They lost Jimmy G, man. And now they lose Deebo Samuel. If he's out for an extended period of time, I mean, he does everything there.
Yeah, he's kind of their Swiss Army knife, but they do have a couple of guys that'll step up, like Brandon Ayuk, who's another one of those Swiss Army knife kind of guys.
Kittle.
They got to get George Kittle going because he hasn't really done anything the past couple weeks.
Yeah.
So you can only rely on Christian McCaffrey to do it all. I mean, he did this week, obviously, 150 all-purpose yards, but if they're going to see this same production, they got to get more people involved, more people stepping up.
Yeah, I agree. I think they'd miss Deebo more in the playoffs. I think they'd get by without him in the regular season, but you know, we'll see how that plays out. We'll see how long he's out for and judge it from there. As for Tampa Bay, I mean, this is sad. I mean, you know, I love Tampa Bay. I love Tom. They just, I don't know, man. They just don't look good, whether it's the divorce or just like guys that checked out, injuries. I just think they'll make the playoffs. They're playing a terrible division, but these are the teams you're going to play in the playoffs, and they look like dog shit.
Yeah, this was not a good showing for them. It took them all the way till late in the third quarter to get on the scoreboard, so that goes to show you something's not right in Tampa Bay.
Something's not right in the water. All right, next game, we go to the Miami Dolphins versus the LA Chargers. Not San Diego anymore, Sam. They're in LA now, the Chargers.
Wow.
All right. Herbert looked really good. He shined. He threw for almost 400 passing yards. On the opposite end, Tua looked tough. These guys were drafted in the same draft class, along with Joe Burrow, the three big quarterbacks. Sam, what are your thoughts? Are we reading too much into this game? Should we be worried about the Dolphins, excited about the Chargers, or is this a one-off?
I think this game really showed the big weakness of the Dolphins.
Okay.
So Brendan Staley and the Chargers coaching staff really just, honed in on this one weakness, which is the Dolphins rely heavily on Tyreek Hill. Their offense runs through his game. And basically what this showed you is Tyreek ended up finishing with 4 catches, 81 yards, and a touchdown. But he did have the one big play, which was a touchdown for 60 yards. So basically, besides the touchdown, he had 3 catches for like 21 yards.
Okay.
So what that goes to show you is you shut down Tyreek, pretty much this offense is just nothing.
Well, Jalen Waddle, no?
He was non-existent in this game as well. He had 2 catches very late in the game for 30 yards as well. So, I mean, it seems like Tua is not the guy that people were promising.
Two games you're writing off Tua.
Absolutely. I mean, this Chargers secondary is god-awful. They're missing a lot of key players like Derwin James, J.C. Jackson. Those are 2 of their best DBs in the league, and, they were able to contain one of the best passing juggernaut offenses in the league. So if they're able to do that, then I think any team can do that to them.
Okay, Sam, I'm gonna disagree from you a little bit. I'm not reading too much into this game, just because I do think the Chargers are fucking choking dogs, and I think the coach is a blubbering idiot, Brendan Staley. I think he's gonna fuck them up, and they'll lose because of him. However, they have an extremely easy schedule. I was looking at it today in class when I was supposed to be teaching with the kids. The Chargers have a really easy schedule. I think they'll definitely get into playoffs. I think they'll fuck it up and choke, and they'll go home early. As for the Dolphins, I think it shows they're like everyone else. I agree with you. They're not like this juggernaut. But I think they can hang with Cincinnati, hang with Buffalo, and I don't know. I think they could make some noise. I'm still willing to give Tua a chance down the stretch.
We'll see what happens, Matt.
Okay. Well, Sam, it was great to get your thoughts about those games. We always appreciate your insight here on Sideline. And now we're going to get more into your insight with Best Bets with Sam Reed.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Best Bets for Week 15 of the NFL. So after last week, my new record is 2-3-1, which doesn't look good on paper. That's a losing record. Now, the reason why it's 2-3-1 is because the one Ravens bet that I had was only if Lamar Jackson played. So that bet was nullified. That's why there's a 1 up there. I just did not count that bet towards that slate. But anyways, we're looking good this week. We're feeling better. You can't have a great week every week. So, you just got to move on. Just keep making bets, and hopefully you start winning more. You know what I mean? All right. So, I just want to give a quick disclaimer once again before I get into my best bets for this week. Please remember that I am in no means a professional handicapper, so do not bet more than what you can afford to lose. And without further ado, let's get into it. So my first best bet of Week 15 is the Seahawks plus 3.5 at home against the 49ers on Thursday Night Football. So the odds for this are minus 120. Which is 1.2 to 1. This is all based on Caesar Sportsbook as well. This is based on Saturday's odds because I do the research prior to the show, so the odds are definitely going to change between now and then. So I can see this line definitely changing to at least maybe 5, 6 based on the money and the percentage of bets on certain ways. But the reason why I like this bet a lot is because home underdogs tend to do a lot better against really good opponents, as we've seen in the past. I think that the Seahawks are going to get one of their guys back this week that'll help Geno Smith, take some pressure off him throwing the ball. It's going to be Kenneth Walker. If they're able to get him back and get him going in this game, I feel like they can contend and keep this one close. That's why I like the 3.5. I find that this divisional game is going to be very close. I think Geno Smith is going to be able to sling it against this 49ers defense because they haven't really faced a tough test so far. And I just feel that a lot of people see the 49ers as this invincible juggernaut, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be placing bets on their side. As I have researched already, as of right now, 86% of the bets are on the Niners spread, and 81% of the money line bets are also on San Fran. So what that tells you is the people love San Fran in this one. I'm going against the people. I'm going on the sharp side. I'm going with the Seahawks, and don't overthink it. Now, my second best bet of Week 15 of the NFL slate is the Vikings minus 4.5 at minus 110 odds, which is 1.1 to 1, or $11 wins 10. The reason why I like this one is because they're going up against the Colts. I'm not looking too much into this one. The Vikings played a tough Lions team. They just simply wanted it more. They had to get one of these games out of the way because there's always a game or two on the schedule that, going into it, it's going to be very gritty. The other team, even though on paper they should beat them like 9 times out of 10, this is that 1 out of 10 that they lose. And it looked like the Lions just simply wanted it more out there. But the reason why I like the Vikings in this spot is because the Colts are literally the second worst offense in the league, only trailing the Broncos, who put up less than 15 points a game. Matt Ryan hasn't really showed me anything this year, so I don't really see them, carving up this Vikings defense, although they are one of the worst passing defenses in the league. I also feel like this Vikings team can contain Jonathan Taylor, and if they're able to do that and get pressure on Ryan, I just see this game being a lopsided blowout. So without a question, take the 4.5 and don't overthink it. Now, my third and final best bet of Week 15 is the Patriots money line against the Raiders at even odds. That is why you see the plus and minus sign next to the 100. So basically, if you put $5 down, you get $5 back. The reason why I like this one is because the Patriots have arguably a top 3 defense in the league. They give up less than 19 points a game, which is third best in the NFL. They're going up against the Raiders team, who has a track record of 0-3 with Derek Carr against this Patriots team in the past. I feel like he's going to have a tough time figuring out the secondary of the Patriots because of guys like Marcus Jones, Jack Jones, covering their top guys like Devontae Adams. I feel like he's not going to have that great of a game, especially if they're able to double cover him and take him out of the picture. And if the Patriots are able to stack the box and get rid of Josh Jacobs from having a big game, just like this previous week, Josh Jacobs was held to under 100 yards rushing. I feel like this Patriots team is just going to exploit this weak secondary of the Raiders. Mac Jones is in for a big game, just like he had against Minnesota, who also had a very weak secondary. And I just feel that Bill Belichick and the coaching staff are just going to erase all the negativity towards them and change up the game plan and go into this one and just never look back. They're just going to keep the foot on the gas pedal and just ride away all the way to the finish line. So without further ado, thank you guys for tuning in to Best Bets Week 15 of the NFL slate. Now we're going to turn it over to Matt for sweet and sour and the final.
Wow, Sam, thank you so much for that. That was such a wonderful segment. I always look forward to hearing your best bets every week. All right, Week 14, NFL season, fantasy football. This week was, for a lot of people, was the last week of the regular season, getting you ready for those fantasy playoffs. Let's start it off. My number 3 sweet this week for fantasy is Devontae Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles. He's been having a pretty good year. Everyone's talking about Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, as they should. Devontae Smith is very quietly having a good season. The last couple of games he's been eating. He had a big touchdown catch this week. And as long as the Eagles continue to play well, he'll put up good numbers. He's the number 2 guy on that team. A.J. Brown draws a lot of double coverages. Devontae Smith is eating off second corners. And the Eagles put up a lot of points. Jalen Hurts is having an MVP season. And for that reason, I really like Devontae Smith heading into the fantasy football playoffs. My number 3 sour is Michael Carter. Now, this is an easy one. When Breece Hall went down, people thought Michael Carter was going to be the clear-cut guy. He was going to get all the carries, the touches. And the Jets not being too bad. He was going to do pretty well. Maybe be an RB2, maybe a flex play. Hasn't happened. They traded for James Robinson, which showed they clearly don't believe in Carter as being the clear-cut guy. Even though James Robinson hasn't played, Zonovan Knight has actually emerged in the Jets' backfield. He played better than Carter last week. He got more touches. He got the goal line work. And Carter, ever since Breece Hall's been hurt, hasn't really done anything. I think you can drop him, and I definitely would not play him anytime soon. My number 2 sweet this week is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, now, the Jaguars held him in the second half, but he still had a really good game. He had about 20 fantasy points this week. And Derrick Henry always seems to get going in the playoffs. Later in the season, when everyone's tired, beating up, Henry takes full advantage. Now, what I have him sweet mainly because their next 2 matchups are against the Titans, are against 2 of the worst run defenses in the league. So for the fantasy playoffs, you should feel very fortunate. Derrick Henry, you can ride him in terms of getting you to the fantasy championship. Derrick Henry, clear-cut RB1. You should feel good about him in your next 2 matchups in the fantasy football playoffs. My number 2 sow this week is Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb started off hot, like really hot. Like, I'm talking Gisele Bündchen hot. He had a really good start to the season. He was going off. Kareem Hunt wasn't really getting much work. The last 3, 4, 5 weeks, hasn't done a lot. He had one pretty decent week where he got a touchdown, but he doesn't catch any passes. The Browns are pretty vanilla on offense, even with Deshaun Watson coming back. You kind of got to play him because you probably drafted him as an RB2 unless you have, like, really good other options. You did really well later in your draft. But he hasn't done anything, and he is so touchdown dependent. You need to hope that the Browns get within the 5-yard line, give it to Chubb. He's sour this week. I wouldn't feel great about playing him going forward, even if you have to. My number 1 sweet, Miles Sanders. Really, everyone on the Philadelphia Eagles is sweet. Miles Sanders has been going off this season. You probably drafted him as a flex play, maybe even a bench guy, backup running back, because he kind of didn't hit expectations last year. This season, he's gone above expectations. It's really because he's on a really good team and a really good offense. And some people thought he was going to split carries, which he has a little bit, but he's really the clear-cut number 1 guy there. He's got over 20 fantasy points in multiple weeks since their bye. He's just been going off every week. You've got to play him going forward. He does it all. He catches it. He runs it. He gets goal line work. Miles Sanders, sweet going forward. My number 1 sour, easy, Mark Andrews. He's a really good player. I'm sorry, Sam. I know Sam drafted him in fantasy, and he's a really good player. He has not had double-digit points, I think, since like week 4 or 5. He hasn't done anything recently, and some of it, and it started before Lamar Jackson got hurt. He had kind of been slowing down. Lamar Jackson didn't play last week. He's not playing this week. Tyler, you knew his production was going to go down with Tyler Huntley, and now to get the 3rd-string quarterback in, I don't know who's going to play this upcoming week. I would, if you have a better option, you might have to bench Mark Andrews for the first week of the fantasy playoffs. He's not been good. And he was probably drafted as tight end 1 or 2 in your league, either him or Kelsey. He's sour, and I wouldn't feel great about him going forward, even if you have to play him until Lamar Jackson comes back. And with that said, that's all we have for Fantasy Sweet and Sour. Before you go home, remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, check in with us every Monday for Sidelined and every Friday for the Movie Mob, Wilco Media. Tell a friend, tell a family member, like, subscribe, send that fucking link. We'll see you next week.